You don't need a lot of money at all. You can start with bare minimum.
If they can do it 70% to the ability that you can, let them do it.
I think that's actually what makes great brands, is when you can be a little bit more vulnerable.
So ladies, Vodafone has brought us here today to talk about the rise of the creator CEO. I think that's something that we all know a little bit about. Yes. What can small businesses take away from this new wave of companies being founded by content creators turned business leaders?
Ooh. Hi, my name's Dominique and I own a brand called Hair Anatomy UK. I started the brand about 3 years ago whilst working full-time in corporate banking. Quite quickly, I've gone through a personal story myself where I've lost my hair due to alopecia, and I thought I want to do something where we could help other women going through the same thing as myself. So I started on the weekends selling wigs on TikTok Shop, and quite quickly we started to gain traction, we started to get an audience, and within 8 months of starting my job, I was able to leave my full-time corporate role, and now I do TikTok Shop and my business full-time.
Hi, my name is Amelia. I run a personal branding agency called Clout. So we help founders and CEOs build their personal brands online. And I kind of fell into personal branding. I've had many, many business failures over the years. And what I have learned over those failures and through my corporate job is that people buy from people. And during lockdown, after kind of accumulating a few thousand followers on LinkedIn and having people messaging me saying, how did you do it? I decided to quit my job and start my business. And 5 years later, I've generated over $4 million off the back of my LinkedIn profile, and now get to do amazing things like this. So far, so good.
It's going all right.
Going well.
Hello, my name's Jo Bird. I am an independent brand consultant and speaker, and I think they call us a LinkedIn influencer, which I kind of dig now. Basically, I do some B2B brand partnerships, which I really love. Prior to that, I worked in-house brand side, working with cool brands, doing creative things, brand storytelling, and now I kind of do it for myself. So yeah, enjoying flying the nest, no pun intended, and just loving it.
Love that.
Well, my story is that I got made redundant, so I got pushed. But the perks to that story is that I was prepared, and building a personal brand on the side, even when you don't know you're doing it, it's nice to have something that can sort of catch you when you fall. And I say fall, but it felt like, the timing was perfect. So circumstantially, I think, you kind of, sometimes you don't ask for it, but you just make what you can with the situation, don't you?
Yeah. Redirection, not rejection.
Yes, exactly that.
It's a good question, but I feel like mine's slightly different in that I sort of fell into creating. Like, I didn't intentionally start building a personal brand, although now I'm like the personal branding queen. And I love posting content on LinkedIn. I feel like I was a CEO that then, or at least wanted to be a CEO that then started creating. I do think, though, to your point, Jo, the more you can create, even if you are in employment, and you're an amazing testament to that, and so are you, Jo, the more you can start creating and building yourself as a creator and building a personal brand, that then means you have so many more options. Like you said, when you were made redundant, you could just, you could step into something else. When I started my business, I had my first 2 clients 3 days after I launched. So that was like 10 grand in my bank, like straight away, because I'd already started posting content and being that kind of creator. So I think it's a very, very important part, whether you are currently a CEO or maybe want to run your own business one day, or maybe you never want to run your own business. It just gives you more options, I think, if you do start creating something.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think it's never been easier than today to actually build your own personal brand as well. All of the platforms that we have, like your TikToks and your Instagram, is just there, so easy for you to connect with your audience. And I really feel like if you utilize those platforms really easily, you can grow community quite quickly. So you can kind of test and learn as well before you go, oh, I'm going to leave my full-time role and do this, 100%. So I'd say the platform that we have makes it so easy for us to be able to, sort of grow our personal brands and become that sort of creator.
It's been like ear to the ground with the community, like you say, isn't it? Like, what better way to just know what people are talking about, what they want, and give it to them in real time? Never in marketing history have you been able to do that.
Absolutely.
So as a founder, it's perfect.
But I also think the barrier to entry is so low. before you would need to have like a setup like this, and you'd need to hire a creative director, photographers, lighting, sound, whatever. I literally have a microphone that I bought for 50 quid on Amazon, which is an expensive one, I might add. And I will just whack out TikToks, even though I'm running a multi-million-pound business, and they do much better than the ones that I'm more polished in a setup studio and stuff. So I think the barrier to entry is lower, which means that they're, like, to your point, there's no excuse. And even if you're an introvert, like, there are platforms and ways that you can reach your audience and build your brand, like Substack, write your own newsletter, write blogs are definitely having a comeback. LinkedIn is such a copy-heavy platform. There's no barrier anymore, and therefore there's no excuse. And, to your point, it's never been easier to start a business off the back of you. And if you're solving your own problem and you are the customer, who better to sell the business than yourself?
It's very much an even playing field now, more than ever before. And I think back to when I first started my business, in the day I was doing my corporate job, and then between 6 and 8, that was me going on TikTok Shop selling my wigs, right? And I literally made my first 6 figures from my house, in my kitchen. So to your point as well, you don't need a massive setup. Start where you are, because that's enough, and just take your time and grow. 100%, yeah, absolutely. Because straight away you could resonate with your community. You can tell your story in such a unique, authentic way, like nobody else. And I really feel like you bond and you grow with your audience, and they resonate with you because they go, actually, she looks like me. She's going through what I'm going through. So it makes it a lot easier to connect, I would say.
I think, look, we've always known that people buy from people, right? It's why, like, in the 50s and even up until now, like, people do business on the golf course, right? And like, I got told, I remember when I was like 21 being like, learn how to play golf because you'll get ahead in your career.
I tried that.
Is that true?
It didn't last long.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because people will do business with people they like, right? But the thing that we all have in our arsenal now that, our parents didn't have and our grandparents didn't have was we can create that connection in our pocket. Like, we have this device that means that we can reach people. And particularly if you are building a company that is directly solving a problem that you have had, for example, your amazing wig business, my personal branding business really was triggered and scaled off the back of my lack of confidence in my own inadequate or feelings of inadequacy when I was younger. Like, it was all propelled by that. And so I am my target audience. I am my customer. And so why would I try and outsource that to someone else? And particularly as, like, there's plenty of statistics I can reel off, seeing as this is my subject matter. But like 80% of people would rather buy from a business whose founder they followed online. 92% of people trust the opinion of a stranger that they've never met before over a company brand online. And leads that come through individual social media accounts, so like your social media, your face, convert 7 times more frequently. So to answer the question of, do you have an edge if you're a creator CEO? Of course you do. Like, it's not just our opinion, the statistics prove that to be true. And it's not to say that everyone needs to build a personal brand. Like, it's like saying everyone should drive a car. It's like, it's totally your own decision and opinion to do it. However, just know that if you aren't willing to promote your own business on your own channels in 2025 and 2026 and beyond, you will not have one in the future, because people will be looking for businesses based on their own values in a world where everything's the same price, everything is the same as accessibility. Every business does the same thing. So they're going to look for value alignment and audience alignment and community alignment, and that's how people will start making their decisions. So you have, like, if you want to compete, you're going to have to put your face out there, and if not you, then someone in your business will.
That's the thing. I mean, like, your product can be copied, your price can be copied, but no one can actually really copy you and your storytelling. And it goes back to the basics of brand building, which is storytelling. It's just that traditionally it was done in a different way, whereas now it's a lot more emotive because it's human-led, like your story and your story. We want to see a human being.
What do people get wrong about you as a creator CEO?
Sometimes with building a personal brand, you are very open, like having to be transparent, because that's the point. And so sometimes, I don't know how you guys feel, but it can get quite heavy. Like, you feel like you're bearing parts of your soul to the internet. But that comes with the storytelling, and I think that's actually what makes great brands, is when you can be a little bit more vulnerable.
There is such a fine line between being personal and being private. And I think when people talk about personal brand, they just presume that it means that you have to share everything, like, online. I am so steadfast in the fact that I don't share private. I do share personal, and I think you can be personal without being private. And when you are personal without being private, you don't use social media as a kind of validation tool for your personality. It's a distribution channel for your business. And that reframe takes you, I think, from being a consumer that's kind of posting stuff to being a creator who's like using their content as a way to make more money. I've got a pretty strong system now of content creation and kind of planning. Not like everyone has their own version of like Notion or Notes or whatever. And we do our own thing internally, but from an actual execution perspective, we follow a pretty simple funnel, which is on a Monday, I post something that is really kind of personal and, it has to be storytelling. It has to be something that's going to resonate with my audience. On a Tuesday, we try and post something that's like a little bit more niche, but like maybe still a little bit broad. So I might comment on something that's happening in the world that's relating to my space, or I might do a brand analysis for someone because personal branding is my thing. On a Wednesday, we will do something more educational. So like hacks, quick tips, quick takeaways. And on Thursday, probably the same thing. And then Friday, kind of Saturday, Sunday, we sort of alternate between, but I always produce some kind of social proof content. So it will be like, we've helped this person go from A to B, or like, here is how I went from A to B. And the reason why that works so well for me is, number one, it drives people to my DMs and drives people to my website and makes them buy stuff. But the second thing is it helps me prioritize what I need to produce in the next kind of 2 to 4 to 6 weeks to meet the business goals. And I think it's really important when you are a creator CEO or you're doing this to drive traffic to your company that you don't fall into the trap of like, oh, I'm an influencer, so I need to take pictures of my brand new shoes and my bag to like get loads of likes, because I know that that's not going to translate into business for me. I honestly, and I can say this without fear of contradiction, I don't care what we post online. Like I always say to Hannah, our social media manager, like I care about the strategy, I don't care about the tactics. If it's a trend, if it's a new way of presenting an asset, if it's a story we haven't told yet, it's like, I don't care, as long as it is aligned to the strategy, to the goals. But I think that framework that I've just mentioned there has certainly helped me prioritize, right, we need 5 stories today.
I think you make a really good point there as well on mentioning your team member. So obviously when you're a creator or a creative initially, it's very much just you. Yeah. So you can just bathe in your own chaos. And even though I'm a little bit like that, in my head everything makes sense. So I've got that plan that's already working. But if you want to scale, and I'm very consciously aware of this, you have to learn to let go, which means this has to come out and you have to be able to delegate and build a system that is scalable. So for creators to know a bit about business and about systems and about how to pivot into that, I think is a really important sort of lesson to learn.
And I think that's the hardest part, when you do need to transition from getting it all out of your head and giving it to somebody else to do that role because you're just too busy. It's such a hard thing to do because I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I like to make sure that I'm in the detail and it all looks beautiful when it's being executed. But now I've got a social media manager, we have to work very closely together, and although I'm sort of letting go, I'm kind of giving her the empowerment to be able to run with things and be able to execute it really well. But it's so tough as you kind of go through that transition. It's not easy at all.
I think there's 2 bits of advice for anyone who's kind of listening to this, totally relating to the chaos, because I mean, I'm really lucky now because I have a team to support the content and the business and stuff. But even 2 years ago, maybe 18 months ago, I still did everything myself. Yeah. And the reason I did everything myself, not because I didn't have the resource, but because I couldn't get it out of my head. Yes. It was easier for me to just do it than it was to explain someone else to do it. Yeah. And I knew that if I did it, it would be better. So
we don't tell them that.
No, of course not. So, but there's 2 things. I think number one is document everything. Have an SOP for everything. Have a playbook for everything. We're currently building at the minute something called the cloud operating system. And it's literally everything from how do people interact with our brand, what are our mission, what are our values, all the way through to how do we comment on other people's posts, how do we interact with each other. It's going to be this enormous Bible, and it's taking some time to do, but it means that everything is documented so that anyone coming into the business, we're there you go, that's how we do this. And you can do the same thing for your content. This is how I write, this is how I produce things, this is what my format looks like, this is what we prioritize, etc. And the second thing is, if they can do it 70% to the ability that you can, let them do it.
Let them roll.
Let them do it. You notice the difference. No one else does, trust me.
No,
and I
no
know
one
that
else
from
does.
giving my Instagram to Hannah, our social media manager, and watching the views go from like 250,000 in 30 days to 1 million.
And you're like, my work here is
Like,
done.
that's your problem now.
It's funny, it's like, that's what I do, is build those brand books for businesses.
Oh, okay, right.
Doing it for yourself is a whole different...
There you go. There you go.
It's like holding a mirror up and going, who am I? But like, it's so easy to do that for someone else. What tools do you use to build your personal brand?
I mean, right now, it's got to be LinkedIn, right? Absolutely, LinkedIn. So for me, LinkedIn at the moment, because I don't do a lot on there previously, I've been more sort of on TikTok. But now that my brand is starting to grow, I've started to utilise and try and tap into LinkedIn a lot more, at least by doing 1 or 2 posts a week. I need to get a lot better, but I know that there's a lot of opportunities, especially if I'm growing a new brand, would be definitely LinkedIn and getting the new opportunities. So yeah, LinkedIn for me at the moment.
So, oh God, I've got a tech stack. Where do we start? So I'm building across multiple channels, and I wouldn't recommend that for someone who's just getting started, because I think you need to nail one channel and then you evolve from there. Because if you're trying to create content across 5 different channels and then look at the results and then try and optimize 100 pieces of content, like, it's just not
You're going to burn out.
You're going to burn out. And also you're going to feel really downtrodden because you're like, why isn't it working? Because you're trying to focus on too many things. So focus on one channel first. But we use something called Plannable, which is a scheduling tool, but it also does analytics. It also allows us to reply to other people's comments and stuff directly from the tool, which is fantastic. So if you're building a cross-channel, it's great. We also use it to then ideate newsletters. So everyone that works in my content team knows that that's the centralized location for everything. So nothing goes out on social media or on like on newsletters or on the website or anything unless it's been on Plannable and it's been approved, and the correct asset is there and the time is correct and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really amazing tool. I love AI. I am an AI girly through and through. I have an AI barrister. I have an AI travel agent. I have an AI strategic business advisor. I have an AI social media manager. Like, I have an AI everything. And I feel like as a business owner, it is your strategic imperative to get ahead with this stuff. Like, there's no point in you burying your head in the sand and being like, I don't understand it. It's your job to understand it. It's your job to innovate and be different and try and find a way to do things faster and quicker and easier. I literally created 15 assets for my LinkedIn and Instagram the other day on ChatGPT in about 15 minutes. And as long as you learn how to use these tools, you can expedite stuff and save yourself so much money. So I love AI. I think learn how to use it. Don't use it like everyone else, which is like, write me a LinkedIn post about me.
No.
Because that's going to just, like,
And
who
dashes.
who knew that a robot had a tone of voice? So I think that's really important that you understand how to use it effectively, but do use it where you can. And then the other things, I guess I would say, is do the unscalable things. It's not necessarily a tool, it's more advice, but, there's so much pressure put on people to build their personal brand by people like us online. And so everyone goes all in on the online and forgets that your personal brand is offline too, right? As a business owner, my reputation transcends my LinkedIn. It is how I show up in this room. It is, I've just met you today. I have a personal brand with you immediately. And I need to be conscious of how my personal brand is being created in your mind, in the same way that I need to be conscious of how my personal brand is being translated to the barista who served me my coffee 10 minutes ago, with the person that I actually bumped into on the tube. Like, you need to do the unscalable things. Be really conscious that every single person that you interact with, whether it's digitally or like linearly, is having a good experience with you, because you want them to be like, oh, I met that person and they do this thing and actually they were really cool. And although it's not a tool, it is something that's totally in your control, and I think is actually the biggest needle mover that you can do when it comes to building a personal brand and also building a profitable business.
Totally.
Love that. Absolutely.
And springboarding off what you've just said, like being a brand girl, the tools of just knowing storytelling, and not every tool has to be a tech tool. You can have the tools that exist in your brain. Learn how to tell stories. That tool has not changed for centuries. Just go read some books about how to tell a story, and the principles are exactly the same. So then you don't have to be lazy and just rely on ChatGPT to give you a half-hashed version of your own life. You can literally just, tell the same life story again, but just know how to articulate it, know how to hook people. Hooks aren't a new thing. They are, news journalists have been doing hooks for years and years and years. We just have to learn those tools. So I would encourage people, don't shy away from using your own initiative and you being the tool, essentially.
Yeah. Do you need to get your own face out there to grow your business?
Ooh, a contentious question.
Very much so.
I'm going to go controversial and say no, because there are many, many wealthy, successful business owners in this world that do not have their face plastered all over social media. It's just everybody's going to do it different. And if you don't get on with the internet, if you can find your own way to do it, you go. But most people will want to leverage what's in front of them to do it faster, quicker. Everybody wants to go quicker. So it's a good road to go down. But I'm of the opinion that each to their own, if you can make it work.
Controversially, I'm also going to agree. So maybe not so controversially. And I run a personal branding agency that does this I do this for a living.
Yes.
I think it's for a slightly different reason. To your point, there are lots of very wealthy, successful people who don't have personal brands. There are also lots of very wealthy, successful people who do have personal brands. Like we look at Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, there's Sarah Blakely, Richard Branson. These people spend millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds on their personal brands. Gary Vee has a team of 20 people. He has a separate company called Team Gary Vee that look exclusively after his social media. So, of course, you don't need it. Just like you don't need a car, you don't need plenty of things in life that we all need. However, I do think if you're at the beginning of your journey and you're just getting started, it's the quickest way to get to the next step, because you then don't need to spend time convincing people. They're already convinced. And I think half of the battle with growing a business is sales, particularly if you're trying to raise investment or you're trying to get some kind of market share or some kind of wait list, you've got a tech product or something like that. Trying to get that brand awareness is really, really hard. Because the market's so competitive. There is so, positively and negatively, it's never been easier to start a business, ever, which means there are so many businesses. So in order to compete, you've got to be different in some way. And to your point earlier, the quickest way to be different is to be you, right?
Yes.
So do you need a personal brand? No. Is it maybe more simple and slightly less complicated and a bit less hard to if you build a personal brand? Yeah, because it is easier for someone to buy from an individual than it is to buy from a company. Look at all the brands that spend billions of dollars trying to humanize their brand. You've got Ryanair with the winged airplane with the eyeballs on TikTok. You've got the giant owl of Duolingo. They're all trying to humanize their brands because they understand that people buy from other humans.
Or owls.
Or planes.
Anything with eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Iconic.
I would agree both of you guys, but for someone who's built her brand by showing her face and showing up all the time, for me, that has definitely, to your point, accelerated, I believe, my growth, without a doubt. And I don't think I would be where I am today if I was hiding behind the brand. I really don't. And as well, it's brought a lot of community building by me showing up and telling my story. And I just think there's nothing better than being your authentic self and being able to resonate with your community and help, grow your business. So I would agree with both of you guys, but for someone who's done that, I guess, and being the face of the brand, I would say, it makes a massive difference.
Do you think you would have been able to build the personal brands that you've built if you were more introverted and more, let's say, camera shy?
Love this question, because I am a born and bred introvert.
Yeah, I would say for me, it took me a while to get my head around going on the camera, to be honest. It probably took me about 6 months of trying to convince myself to do my first live. No word of a joke. So I would say, it's tough. It's tough.
For me, the decision was very much do I want to be successful or not? And I have to fight my own demons to be successful. Yeah. So it's actually an amazing self-awareness tool, like you saying, training yourself to be on camera.
Yeah.
It takes work. Some people, it's a bit more natural, but I've really worked. Yeah. And I think if you want anything in life, you've got to really work at it. And so it can help a lot of introverts, can help a lot of people to get better at seeing themselves and hearing themselves and taking up space as well.
I love your answer so much, because I'm naturally very extroverted. But just because
you know that.
But just because you're extroverted doesn't mean it's not hard. I used to spend about 2 hours just recycling the same line, messing up to get a 1 minute clip that I would then share on LinkedIn. And now I can just go live and I'm just blah. And I could just go for it.
I don't even assume it comes easy.
Everyone assumes it's a natural ability. It's not. It's a skill that I've worked at for 7 years now. Equally public speaking, getting up on a stage. I remember the first time I did it was actually, funnily enough, at LinkedIn, which is the platform that I built my business off. And I remember going up there and I had all these notes and I got up there, I forgot everything. Every
wobbly
single
knees,
thing, I forgot it. So the worst nightmare came true. And it did come true over and over and over again until I started learning that actually, even when everything goes wrong, it's not so bad. So I think a big part of people not building their personal brand, which is why I asked the question, is because they're like, oh, I couldn't do that because I don't have the confidence. I'm an introvert. I could never do that. And it's like, well, none of us could never do that 6 years ago.
Yeah, huge game changer, by the way. I went to an improv class and it will change your freaking life.
Right.
I did not want to go and I got there and no one cares. And everyone's just like doing crazy things and you're just so elated. So you get better at just being stupid on the spot. And the beautiful learning about it is improv is 90% commitment, 10% content.
100%.
So
it's like personal brand.
Yeah, it is. It just doesn't matter what you say as long as you say it with confidence.
If someone used AI to clone your aesthetic and launch a dupe brand, what would you do?
I would firstly find it funny that somebody cared that much to do that. Also, a lot of what I put together is I've done it in like 5 minutes to get something out the door. So I'm like, you went through the effort of copying that thing that I spent 5 minutes on. Like, good for you. But also, I think there's a story in like brand equity here, isn't there? Because people think by cloning like a logo, a graphic, a color palette, an aesthetic means that you're going to get the same success that that person has built over freaking years. So it's annoying, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you guys have been copied
100%.
plenty already. And I find people here and there, I'm like, you copied me. But ultimately they can't take who you are, which is the whole point, right?
How would I react? I just think it's part of the game. Like, if there is a dupe industry based on my likeness and what I've built, I'm like, go get it. It's only one real thing, and you got to pay to get the real thing. So if the dupe industry is making me more expensive, then I'm happy with that. The only thing I'd say is, like, to your point about brand equity, particularly around IP, it's so important for you to be relentless in protecting your IP. I am a business owner. I was a small business owner for a very long time. I've had multiple small businesses. And I will always be empathetic to the struggle of being a small business owner. A recent example of this is someone called their business clout. It would have taken this person 0.3 seconds to Google the word KLOWT, like we all do when we start a business, so we can check the domain to find out there was a business with a trademark and everything, but still decided to do it. And I just wrote a really empathetic email and just said, look, I get it. I understand. However, I hope you can understand as a business owner, I've got to protect my
100%.
business. And so I'd really appreciate it if you decide, if you took the decision to change your name and change your branding and change your colors. And to be fair to her, she did it. So yes, it's fun. It's iconic, I think, for people to like copy and paste your content. There was a very, very famous woman with an OBE who literally copied and pasted something that I posted. And I was like, oh, what? Thanks, babe.
Flattered.
Flattered. Also, I know she uses an agency, so it was probably her agency that did it.
100%.
But you also have to be relentless in protecting what you've worked really, really hard to build.
Yeah, we're going through that process now where we're sort of trademarking our name internationally. So we've started it on for the UK, but we're trying to widen the net a little bit. But in regards to companies copying you, if you have a product-based business like mine, a lot of the time the customer will tell you anyway. They'll go, you know what, that is not Hair and Acme's quality. I can tell straight away it's not that brand. And I think sometimes you have the voices of your customers that can actually advocate for your products as well. So when you've got a really loyal customer base, they'll tell you straight away. They'll go, I bought from that person, but actually it was a load of rubbish. It wasn't as good as you. And I think getting that sort of feedback, straight from your customer is really, really useful. So
that's how you know you've got a solid brand.
That's how you know you've got a solid brand.
When they're on the hunt for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it will happen all the time anyway, and it is enduring. It's annoying, but it is.
And also, like, it being like on the other kind of other foot, it's just part of business. Like, there is always going to be a crossover of we all sell the same products, we all sell the same services, we all have the same customers we're competing for. There's inevitably going to be crossover ideas, crossovers of content, it's just going to happen. And we are all human beings and we all have a biological experience, and that biological experience is almost identical for all of us. We have fear, we have love, we have hate, we have calm, we have depression, like it's all the same. So of course, inevitably, you're going to be triggering those same emotions, and therefore the content and things that you're selling and the way you're selling things is going to be the same to a degree. But to your point a minute ago, there's only one you. Yeah. And you can either buy the real thing or you can buy the dupe.
No one has a dupe. What did your biggest mistake cost you as a creator CEO?
Mine probably was about £20,000, which was me making the wrong decision about stock and inventory. I think as well, when you're starting your business, you always miscalculate things, right? You don't know what you don't know. And I thought, I have a wig brand, right? But I thought bringing in ponytails would be something our customers would want. I quickly realised that wasn't the case at all. I spent £20,000 on this stock that basically I couldn't move at all. It was stuck with our head office in China, and we just couldn't sell it. Customers didn't want it at all. They were like, no, this is not us. The sales weren't coming through. And I've just been sat there with that £20,000. Yeah, so it's been a massive learning curve to make sure that you have the insight from your customers. You know what they want, and you're always asking that question and keeping your ear to the ground, because especially when you have a product-based business, it's very easy to make those expensive mistakes. So for me, it was £20,000 in stock.
Wow.
Yes. What
made you do that order, sorry?
So I wanted to be a little bit different. So we do wigs, that's one of our core products, right? But I thought ponytails would be something great to offer because it's a great alternative product, right? And it sort of sits within the wigs category. But our customer demographic is a lot older, between 35 and 40, and a 35-year-old doesn't necessarily want to wear ponytails, they want to wear wigs, right? So I got that completely wrong, miscalculated the stock value, and was sort of wasted my £20,000. Yes. But you live and you learn, right? You live and you learn.
I've built my personal brand off failure. Like, that is my core value. It is, and my most viral content is me talking about every single time I've up, basically. And that's what people know me for.
Real.
It's honest, it's real, right?
Real. Yeah.
To your point about your stock issue, like, that's one of the reasons my first business went bust, is I ordered stuff that I couldn't get paid for.
Yeah.
And it meant that I had to close that business down, and it was a huge thing, and it was a huge learning curve for sure. But so the cost, definitely a business.
Yep.
I've wasted £50,000 on various content endeavors that haven't come out. I've lost a huge amount of followers from posting stuff that they did not resonate with. I've lost myself, but I say that in a nice way, because going through this journey of building a personal brand, the byproduct of it has been, I am now 100% okay with the consequences of being myself. When we first started recording this, they said, don't worry, we can edit it, we can cut it out. And I was going to say it, but I didn't want to be that person. I was just like, I'm okay with everything I say. There is not a single thing that I'm going to post, share, talk about that I am ever going to be not proud of. And I'm grateful that I lost myself. I am grateful that I lost that business. I'm grateful I've lost followers, because it means the people who are in my life, whether you are this close or whether you are just following me online or whether you've interacted with me in some way, in some capacity, actually want to be there. And I think that really is we're talking about money, we're talking about creator CEOs, like the benefit to your business. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
I would never been able to do this 10 years ago. I would have been terrified. I'd be like, who is she doing that? Yeah. And now I'm like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? If you, why not me? That's how I see myself now. And that's only because I've made all of these mistakes and lost all these things, which I think is a real positive.
Yeah, I love the emotional. I'm a very emotional person anyway, but that kind of strand to it, for me, has been a huge learning curve in being a creator and running a business. Like, the conversations you have to have with yourself in front of camera, behind camera, being present, and going on. It's a hard emotional journey.
It's like therapy in public.
It's therapy in public, and also with your friends and family, for them to try and understand. It's quite...
Which they never do.
My family are not from this world.
No,
they barely touch social media. Yeah. So, Joe's on a phone again, or this, that, and the other. And it's such an interesting sort of conversation to have with people that just don't really get it. But I think it's quite humbling as well, because then sometimes you have to come out of this bubble, which can be very noisy and stressful, and then just be normal again. Yeah. And I think that's really quite nice.
Yeah.
So I think that I think it can cost your emotions, but I think staying humble with your family is the soul. Key.
Yeah. It's an interesting juxtaposition, isn't it? Because on one hand, we're like, build your personal brand, post it all online. And then on the other hand, it's like, that's part of your job.
It's your job.
Most people who are on social media, and I say this without judgment whatsoever, are consumers. You are the product. Yes. If you're watching TikTok or you're scrolling through Instagram, you're the product. You don't pay to be there. No. Your eyeballs are the product, right? And your eyeballs then get sold to brands to advertise to. And that's how those platforms work. I feel like because I've been posting for so long now, and I've been through every emotion you can possibly go through with social media, I felt like indefinitely, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I definitely had symptoms of that because I was just in it all the time. And
It's heavy.
my validation as a human being came from whether Susan from Colchester liked that post and why Steve thinks that I'm ugly. Like that it was like, oh my God, why? What have I done? You know, like, and I remember feeling all of that, like I'm not good enough, or like validating all the things that particularly as young women we grew up feeling anyway. Like if you're a millennial and you grew up with the newspapers being like, Jessica Simpson, fat, and she's like a size 8. Like, you know what I mean? Like we all had that kind of trauma to grow up with. And so it was sort of, I guess, cementing that in my brain. But I'm now the other side of it where it's a job for me. I don't spend all of my time on the phone. I'm so grateful that I'm there now because I was that person 24/7 on my phone replying to comment. And I think you have to be to agree to start with. But now it's a job for me. I very rarely am on social media. I've got one of those, because I've got a very addictive personality, ADHD. I have one of those things on your phone where you can blocks it. Yeah, so I'm allowed 10 minutes a day on each platform, and then it goes, you're out of time, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I move away, and I have I've got no qualms then about like not being there. Like it's social media to me is not real life. It's a distribution channel for my business. And so I'm not there liking pictures. Sorry, besties, love you very much. But like, I'm not there liking pictures of your new baby. Like I want to see it on WhatsApp. I want you to call me. I want to come visit you.
Yeah.
Because this is work for me. And I think that for me is the difference between a creator and a consumer mindset. If you're a consumer, you're feeding it. You're being fed, right? If you're a creator, this is your job, this is your livelihood, this is the way you make money, and therefore it should be treated as such. And that is like a step change.
What's the creator needs to think more like the business person and just watch that balance.
Yeah, totally. For sure. It is a business as opposed to being a social media channel.
Yes.
What's your biggest insecurity as a creator CEO?
Well, one that I'm battling with right now is being judged, I would say. You know, when you put content out there, there's so much scrutiny on how your brand is perceived, right? And I'm always very conscious of how we show up to our audience, how we show up online. And I just think there's anything can just take it to a whole new level, whether it be a customer not happy, they can just make a video about you and then, you know, it goes viral and then everybody's got an opinion about your brand. And I just think it's really, nowadays anyway, so easy for your brand to go boom, you know, the perception to be like on the floor just because of, you know, a negative, review. But at the same time, you know, you can only control what you can control, right? And for me, as long as I'm starting my brand, I'm doing everything with integrity, with authenticity, then you can only control what you can control. So it's something that I'm battling with today. I battle with it every day. And I think as I start being more of a seasoned CEO, a seasoned creator, so to speak, that will just start to, you know, disappear. But it's something that I sort of go through day by day. But it gets easier over time.
I think the feelings of that you just described there actually never leave you as a CEO. It doesn't matter whether you're a creator or not.
Yeah.
Like no one's ever going to love and care about your business like you do. And so you do, like everyone says, don't take it personally, it's just business. I'm like, of course I take it personally, it's my business.
It's my baby.
It's my baby. And it doesn't matter whether you're running a multi-million-pound tech company. Like I work with plenty of CEOs who are like billionaires and even they take it personally, like, and they've exited, you know? Yeah. So I don't think it's something that ever leaves you because of course you take it personally, it's your business. But don't let it worry, like don't let it stress you, you know, because like you said, things will happen anyway. And all you can do is control the controllables. Like that's my favorite sentence is control the controllables and everything is figure outable.
Yes,
like I think
absolutely.
2 made up words, but that's fine.
Love it.
Everything is figure outable. And I think you sort of, once you get enough scars, those scars become hardened and you're kind of less susceptible to it. My biggest insecurity is a little bit different, is that the platforms will disappear.
Yeah.
And I've built, you know, my entire business off the back of not just getting revenue. So we've got about a 90% inbound business model now. It used to be 100%. Wow. So we've never really had a sales team. I am the sales team. We have amazing funnels. I've got an amazing marketing team. You know, most of our business comes through social media. So if those social media channels go, we no longer have a revenue stream. And equally, my business is social media. So if those social media channels go, I no longer have a product. And so if these social media channels cease to exist, I don't have a business. And so I think it's really, really important. It's something that I work so hard on, is like my biggest goal at the minute is how can I own our audience? Mm-hmm. And the way that you own your audience is through email. It's through having ways that people can communicate with you and your brand off platform, because when you're on a platform, you don't own your audience, LinkedIn does. I love it when everyone says, I've got this many followers. I'm like, they're not your followers. They're just people on a platform that TikTok owns or that LinkedIn owns. You need to find a way to actually make them your audience. And the only way for you to do that is to drive them into some kind of email marketing list or something like that, you know? So that's my biggest insecurity, number one. The second insecurity I have is around innovation. So I spoke a minute ago about the platforms disappearing. So my product disappears, my customer disappears, I have nothing. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen, but you know, you never know. So we're building tech. So we are an agency. Historically, we're a service-based business like you, Joe. And so we are the product, like the people are the product. The problem with that is, and I'm sure a lot of creator CEOs can relate to this, is you are the product, which means that you have to be involved in everything, which makes it very unscalable. You're exclusively relying on the talent of individuals. And as we know, people come and go, particularly in the creative industry. People will stay with you for 12 months, 18 months, if you're lucky, and then they will go and do something else. And then the third thing is it's really hard to scale because you are exclusively reliant on bringing in this talent to then prop your business up, which if you're constantly chopping and changing, people coming in and out, how do you grow, right? So that paired with the two things of losing customers, losing the product, the platform's going, you've got to innovate. You've got to find a way to become valuable, whether you have exit plans or not. I personally want to die in the seat because I'm a sucker for punishment. But if you want to exit your business in any capacity, you've got to build a lifeline for it for next year, for the year after, for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. What happens when it's all changed? So we're building tech underpinning our business so that the way that we do things is done by tech, not by individuals, which then makes it quicker, cheaper, faster, better, but also means that it's going to be valuable in the future, even if those social media platforms don't exist.
Totally, and I think that's why we see a lot of famous creators starting business brands. 100%. And vice versa, because you can't really scale and sell your own name. Because it's...
Unless you're Richard Branson or Tony Robbins.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. You're not going to want to separate from that. So we look at Mr. Beast starting Feastables, things like that. They're sort of clocking on to the fact that, I've built enough equity in my own name that I could actually start 3 or 4 other businesses.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
She's not Kim Kardashian anymore. She's Skims. She's Sky Ventures. She's like, she's a businesswoman. She started out literally as a reality TV star. Yeah. And now she is one of the most successful businesswomen in the world.
Yeah. I was going to say for my insecurity, and I've always had this, and I think it's definitely a female trait, is needing enough receipts or needing enough proof to do what I'm doing. And, I'm 35. I've worked in the industry for over 10 years. Like, I've got a good amount of proof.
Receipts,
But still to this day, you see sort of certain figures in the industry, especially in marketing, these big bullshit characters that are louder, bigger, bolder than you, and you sort of somehow feel small again in that room. So for me, it's like, how do I still stay really reputable and be proud and sort of take up space in a room when I'm not going to be the loudest person naturally? So that for me is just something that I've always been very conscious about and trying to just do it in my own way. Yeah. You don't have to shout the loudest.
No one can do it as good as you.
You've just got to, exist and be confident.
I do think there's something in that I don't want to make this a man versus female kind of creator or entrepreneur world, but I think inherently women tend to get paid less, definitely as creators, tend to get asked to do free work more than their male counterparts, and also tend to ask to be prove that they are worthy of said thing more. And I think my rebuttal, I guess, to any woman who's experiencing that or anyone who's experiencing that is to just be as assertive as you'd like your best friend to be. So if they ask for proof, you say it, but don't beg. And just know that if they're not willing to see the value in yourself, you've got to know how to articulate it. It's not all on them to see your value. I hate this idea of the right people will see your value. No, it's up to you to own that narrative, right? We're all here talking about creating content. It's up to you to create that brand narrative. But if people don't want to work with you and pay you what you've decided your value is, then that's okay. Yeah. You don't have to work with those people. There'll be plenty of other people who you can work with. And don't feel like you need to compete on price and on you said those other creators who are much more bolshy and much more loud. Great, they're going to have a different audience to you. And that's the amazing thing about being a creator is you can find your own space.
And attract the right people for you.
Your personality is a magnet, repels who you want it to repel, attracts who you want it to attract.
You'll find your tribe.
Okay, what's something you believed 5 years ago that you completely disagree with now?
That conforming and being a good girl is going to mean that you're successful in any sort of way at all.
Yeah.
Because you get taught when you're younger, like, do everything the nice way, you know, follow the rules. No, not in business.
Mine would be that you need a lot of money to start. You don't need a lot of money at all. You can start with bare minimum and you can still scale and do well.
Mine would be that nice guys finish last. I really thought I had to be like aggressive and assertive and bold and like all of these things and like elbow my way in. And to a degree you do, but what I've learned is like actually you get so much further ahead when you're nice to people and you really are yourself and you don't pretend to be this aggressive business person, because actually people want to do business with good people and they want to collaborate with good people. So yeah, just be yourself and be nice.
Be nice, yeah.
Right, guys. So cutting there. Great. Excellent. Thank you very much.